coming down to the people. So I've stayed at F5 for so long because the people here that I work with, I mean, day to day, I was working with Daryl Montgomery in the account team here in British Columbia, and he's an amazing coworker to have. And then folks on the extended team, so folks like yourself and everyone that kind of comes together to make sure that we always do right by the customer. And it kind of always comes back to that, and always the mindset that I've had with any career, but who we're actually serving at the end of the day, and we're all kind of going in the same direction, and we're all having fun at the same time. I think we're given a lot of freedom to explore things at F5, and we have adopted a growth mindset. I remember watching a presentation from Francois, our CEO, talked about growth mindset and how we need to just try things. And sometimes those things aren't going to work the best, but if we can learn from those things and then just reposition our path as we learn things, that is eventually going to yield the results that we want. And so some of the things that I've been doing internally at F5 is, hey, I've been doing the social media stuff and trying to figure it out on my own, really, for a number of years at this point, since before I even started at F5. And so I was able to take that into F5. I used it for my own personal role, but as people were interacting with me and saying, hey, I kind of like what you're doing, can you share some of that? And we have the facility internally at F5 to kind of say, okay, let's get some folks together that share similar interests, put together a group, and we can start talking about these things and sharing our ideas. And so that's a group that I lead along with a couple other folks as well, but just trying to work on things that can scale better, specifically for me, scaling social media and content creation better among the field. 2 or 3 things. Number one is the technical side of things. So if you're in this industry, you're going to be technical to varying degrees, but you want to have proficiency in that. But then there's kind of the adjacent things that people don't really think about when it comes to this kind of role. Either this role or the sales engineering role that I was doing is the ability to communicate. And I think communication is 2 ways. It's listening, and it's actually getting your point across through talking and speaking as well. And so a huge part of my role as a solutions engineer was just listening to what customers were telling me, because they were sharing with me things that they were vulnerable about, things that they're faced with day to day. And I needed to hear all of that first before I said anything back to them. Because if they wanted to, I could open up a book and say, here's all these things that F5 does. But if I'm not actually listening to what they're actually saying, I'm just going to spew a bunch of facts that don't make any sense to them. Once I've listened to that, okay, I can communicate back to them something that is a formulated opinion on what we could do from an F5 perspective. And then I think the second piece to that is networking with other people. So that's part of community, I think, is being able to establish these relationships with folks. And from a sales engineering perspective, a lot of that was done in person, whether that was in meetings or meeting up with someone for a coffee or a lunch or a dinner or going to networking events, but being able to really quickly get to the point where, hey, I can have a conversation with you just a little bit deeper than actually just introducing my name or anything.